All right. So these are kind of my FMC solutions that I did at Bay Area Speedcubing 33. I kind of went into this competition, at least for FMC, without doing any practice. So all my practice was pretty much the day of. I went to kind of the Roux Method Speed Solvers Facebook group and looked through the old FMC solutions to see what I could do. That's it. I don't know any FMC techniques. Everything was linear and there were no insertions. So I kind of got a 36 point something mean doing that, which I'm pretty happy with considering I've done 6 FMC attempts in my life and all of them were official. So let's get started with this scramble. On this scramble I got a 34, and I think I saw something that was 35-ish at the start, but I eventually brought that down to 34 using an alternate solution. So obviously not with insertions or any sort of cancellations with that. I just did linear Roux until I found something. So the first block I found was the one I actually ended up using for the attempt. So I saw this line over here and there's this line and we have a pair here. So it's a 4 move first block in essence, because you can do an R white prime, then a U white 2, then actually it's a 3 move first block, but it's a 4 move first block if you include, it's a 4 move first block if you include your LR edges. So I first looked at just doing, white, because I'm used to kind of solving linear blocks. So first block, then second block with both white on bottom. So the first thing I saw was this white one. This is the one that I did not end up using, but R white prime U2. And then for a better DR, I would do a U prime and then a B prime. And that would solve my first block. Then over here, I have this corner and like an edge over here. So I can kind of build it up by doing a U R prime. And then now we have this sort of pattern. So you can do a U R U prime. And then now you'll have a block, which you can do an R2 for. But instead of doing an R2 here, what I opted for is doing like an R prime and then doing a U2 R prime, which will give me a good pair. From here, I could do F moves, but then that would lead to a bad CMLL. So instead, I did kind of like an M move. And then now, if you kind of insert it, you get a double soon, so you can cancel into it by doing that. So that was second block. I think it was like around 20 moves or so, but LSE was pretty simple. And I kind of spammed solutions until I did find something decent for CMLL in terms of getting a skip. I knew I would get a 2-gen CMLL because my first block always led to 2-gen in that case, if I just kept on doing R moves. But I had to keep on doing some sort of solutions to build my blocks in order to make last 10 pieces good, because that's really what brings up the move count in a WCA FMC at least. So it starts off with this EOLR, so that's a 3 move EOLRB, or 5 moves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then over here, do a U prime, and then you have a 5 move 4C. But if you kind of do an X2, it becomes 4 moves. So it became like a D2, and then an M, and then D2 and M. So that was like, I think 35 or something, but I opted for something else. So it's a very similar first block. Start off with this line and this line over here, RA prime UI2, and instead of bringing the white edge over here at the back, I brought the yellow edge instead. So now I'm solving kind of yellow. So I first had this pair over here that I wanted to build. You can kind of do like R2 UR prime. But then I kind of did a lot of experimentation, and eventually I settled on R prime, R right prime to influence my edges for later, and then solve this pair. And once you insert that, this one you can kind of cancel into bringing it out. So like that. Then a U2, and then when you insert this, you get a Niklas. This is a Niklas case. So, because Niklas starts off like, you can start it off by doing that and then kind of like a backsledge, but we're already on that stage, so you can kind of cancel into it like that. And now we have CMLL done, and EO is also done, which is why the scramble is great, because EO skips are generally pretty nice. Then I solve this edge at the back, then this over here, with an M2. And then now the remaining edge, we have this white one that I want to solve at the back, which is over here. So I kind of solve that. And then for the last move, you can do both the M prime and the R2 with like R wide and then R. So that's like the move count for that solution. And that was the 34, which is, I guess, pretty decent for me because I didn't beat any of the other attempts. But I don't know what I average on FMC, so we'll see whether that is actually my average for FMC or not when I do more attempts. Okay, this next scramble was also pretty cool. This was 37 moves. I found something that could have worked really well, but it didn't work really well because I couldn't find a good continuation off of those blocks. But man, those blocks were really good. But regardless, I once again did linear, and also similarly to the first solve, I did non-matching blocks. So there's actually quite a lot of stuff on this scramble that I tried first, but it didn't work. Because there's this like there are 4 free pairs that I know how to use with this. And I tried doing it in different orientations, and they aren't really the best to use. So this was like it was not really a good idea to do. But what I eventually ended up finding was this, because after a D move, this edge will move to the back, and then you can kind of insert this corner with the edge. Like that. And then there's this pair over here, which I just solved for fun, because why not? So that was my first block. It was pretty bad. It was like 9 moves or something, but it led to pretty decent continuation. So you have this free pair over here. Well, this is non-matching, and then the edge is over there. So if you kind of like do a U prime first, then like connect it, and insert with like an R2, what ends up happening is you create another pair at the back. So when you insert with R2, and then you try to insert this pair at the back, what you end up getting now is a soon CMLL, which is great, and you also get an arrow. So what you can do is like an RY2, R prime, U, and then over here, the idea is I do an M, which will keep both my LR edges on the bottom, but the first move of CMLL also starts with an L because it's soon from this angle. So once you're here, you can cancel with an L wide. Yeah, I wrote L wide on my FMC sheet. I kind of felt bad for the people that needed to grade it, because firstly, you don't usually see that many wide moves in an FMC solution, but also it's a Roux solution. It's like, what the hell's going on? Regardless, you can kind of insert that. And then over here, once I finish the last move of CMLL, when I want to insert my LR, it's just an M2 away, so that I don't even need to do any AUFs before that. So before the last move, I can instead do an L and then an LY2, which will solve my LR edges. Then from there, it's a U prime and then 4C with these pieces. And then my last move was RY2, which cancels. I know I could have done an L2, but then that thought never came across my mind for some reason. I just defaulted to RY2. I guess that's like what being a Roux solver is like. But the other thing that was actually pretty interesting, it's the same first block start where you make a square, but then you kind of start with nonlinear. So it's a D prime, U2, R, B prime, and then you have a block there. And then now we have a pair here, which is great. And then we can kind of make a pair, like make another block in the front. So you can do an R and then an F prime to kind of solve that. But then we also have this pair over here where you can do a U2 to start off and then an F, which gives you a free pair here, which is like, it's pretty nice. So when you insert it, the last pair is these pieces over here. So it creates a 3-move insert. But then this 3-move insert doesn't lead to a good CMLL. And then if I try doing the M move version instead, it leads to a diag, I think. No, it doesn't. But it leads to something that wasn't the best. So I couldn't use it. What's going on here? Oh, I didn't solve CMLL. Yeah, so that wasn't ideal. But I really wish I could have found something off of that, because that could have been pretty good if I saw, you know, a good last 10 pieces from that. But regardless, I did the first solution, and that was 37 moves, which I guess is good. I don't know. I don't know what Roux FMC is supposed to be in actual STM, or in actual WCA FMC. For the third scramble, I got a 39 move solution. And this one was kind of strange. Because I just tried to find something. And I think my first thing that I found was a 49. And I needed a 49 to get a sub 40 mean, I think. No, I needed a 48 to get a sub 40 mean. So at that point, it's like, damn it, one move off. So I tried to find something else. It took me quite a while to find something else because I forgot that I can do EO influencing for LSE. But after I realized that that was a possibility, I got a 39 like instantly. So that was like at the 20-minute mark or so. And the rest of the attempt was just me trying to find something cool. And I did find something cool. I found something really cool, in fact, but I couldn't capitalize once again because I couldn't find a good last 10 pieces continuation. But it was seriously like really cool. But anyways, what I saw, like we have this line over here that you can make a block with. You also have this line over here. We'll see this line later, but I chose to do this one over here with a UI prime. And then we have the edge over there. So if you do a UI prime R prime and then a UI2, you end up having this solved. But then I also want this corner to not be white on top because it'll make inserting the corner with the edge here pretty easy. So I did a UI prime U and then RY prime U2. Then from there we have our square, and then last pair is just U, R. And then I did a U to preserve this piece, then B prime. From there I did an R2, then a U, and then we have this pair. But I basically prefixed it by doing this movement, which is R prime U, R U prime. And then when you insert that, you also manage to pair this. From here, it's just a simple like insertion. And over here, I can cancel into a wide soon, which is what I ended up doing. And also this solution gave me good arrow. Because if I just do a regular soon, which is the first thing I did, that led to a 49. But instead, while inserting this last pair, you can do an RY2 and then a U2. And then you have this arrow. Then over here, you don't need to do the RY prime. You can start off with an R prime because the first move is M prime anyways. So M prime, U, then M prime again, then U. Then we do an M prime, like an M2. I wish the cube had a 4C skip over here. That would be a lot better, but it's fine. We have like a 4 mover. Yeah, so it's 6 moves in total for 4C, which is not bad. And that led to a 39 instead. So yeah, that was like a pretty simple solution. And that was one of the first things I found. But the thing that ended up being like really cool was this over here. So we have this pair, and then I made the square by doing R wide. And then because I have this edge already solved, I wanted to preserve it. So I inserted this CFOP style as an RU R prime rather than doing U R prime. And then kind of slide it over. Then we have this pair over here that you can insert. But when inserting it also creates this. So there were like a bunch of things I tried doing. One of the things were like RB prime and then insert that. Then like a U2. And then insert this pair over here, which also forms by doing a B. And then kind of insert this one. But then that leads to a diag soon, which is not bad. You can kind of cancel into it. Then LSE is like not the best. But yeah, I really wish, something could have came out of that, because I spent the rest of my time looking for something off of that first block. Or off of that, I guess, skeleton in a way. The way that nonlinear blocks happened. I tried to find something with 2-gen CMLL or, a Soon or a Niklas or something, but nothing showed up. And all the CMLLs were pretty inefficient. So I couldn't do anything there, and that was really frustrating. But it's okay, because I still managed to get 39 anyways. And coming into the competition, I didn't know how I would do, because my previous PR with 41 moves had a CMLL skip in it unintentionally back when I still sucked at Roux. So I didn't know whether it was possible for me to beat that, but I guess I improved a bit in Roux since 2019 it was. No, since 2017. So I've gotten a bit better at the method. So yeah, those are my FMC solutions.